Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday's edition of Weekend Waypoints, production of SEC Extra and D1Baseball.com. We're here to recap Saturday's action around the SEC. Another day of mostly blowouts, but some interesting results along the way. So we'll talk about those. We'll also quickly get you ready for Sunday's series finales. Before we get into any of that, though, I have to remind you that this episode of Weekend Waypoints and every episode of Weekend Waypoints is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get ready for a new season of fishing fun with Academy Sports and Outdoors, and reel in the best gear at low prices every day. Plus, Academy offers easy ways to shop and save time, like free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup on academy.com orders. All right, first off, some comments real quick, because this is funny to me. Moonshine says, hit the like button. I appreciate that, Moonshine. Yes, please do that. But also he says, Joe loves your team, Kendall hates your team. And I think that's pretty funny. We should definitely make that a thing, because I love your team. Like I'm here to celebrate accomplishments and to have some fun. And so I love your team. Kendall hates your team. That's just the dynamic. Like I don't know what else to say. That's exactly right. Let's get right into it. We'll talk our game of the day. Again, it was a day with frankly kind of slim pickings, but the game I selected was Vanderbilt 6, Xavier 1. And there's a few different reasons for this. One is that deceptively close game, right? I mean, you look at the line score there, it's 2-1 until bottom 8. So it's, for most of that game, it's pretty nip and tuck. Xavier got a good start from Ryan Peach, so that was good there. But I also found it interesting as we scroll down here. I liked this little piggyback setup for Vanderbilt. Ethan McIlvain, his best outing so far this season, 3 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run. Still 4 walks. You'd like to clean that up, but struck out 7. And then Alex Kranzler comes in, 4 1/3 shutout innings, gives up 1 hit, no walks. Obviously, it probably won't always be that effective, right? Especially in SEC play, if that's what they go with. But that is an intriguing idea there, to piggyback McIlvain and maybe get him out of the game feeling good about it, as opposed to pushing him a little bit later. It also could have been a one-off, right? I mean, there's that might just be might have just been a one-time deal there, but either way, quite effective. The 4 spot for Vanderbilt late really kind of took advantage of some sloppiness from Xavier, just manufactured some runs. You've got a run scoring E6. You've got a 2-run bunt by Mike Mancini. You've got a run scoring fielder's choice. Some unearned runs there. So it wasn't pretty late for Vanderbilt, but they got the job done. They manufactured those runs. The other runs coming from a Jonathan Vastine 2-run homer. And obviously that's big because they're going to need him. And to this point of the season, he had not been swinging it all that well. So a positive there for Vanderbilt for sure. All right, let's get into hitter of the day here. A lot of good candidates because again, we had some high scores across the league. So plenty of candidates here. Buckle up a little bit. First off, inside LSU baseball, Jason Armstrong. I lied, Joe. I'm going to scout Mizzou after all. A good day for Mizzou yesterday. They won both ends of a doubleheader against Binghamton. Go right ahead and scout Mizzou, but obviously Mizzou is going to have to play several standard deviations better against LSU than they have against Binghamton to have any chance of being competitive there, and we'll see. Okay, let's get into hitter of the day. A couple from Kentucky, Sean Montoya in the leadoff spot, 4 for 5 with 2 stolen bases, a bunch of stolen bases in that game. Wofford wins the game. It was closer than the score looks because Wofford put up an 8 spot in the top of the 9th, but a bunch of stolen bases for both teams there. Sean Montoya had a couple of them. And then Tyler Bell, the freshman phenom, 2 for 4 with a home run and 4 runs batted in. He's been an immediate impact guy offensively, which was the question for him. We knew the defense would play. We just wondered how well is he going to hit. And through non-conference play, at least, he swung the bat pretty well. We'll see against SEC competition, of course. Bobby Boser of Florida, they played a doubleheader against Harvard and swept it. In game 1 of that doubleheader, Bobby Boser went 2 for 4 with 2 home runs and 6 runs batted in. And then in game 2, we had Brody Donay, 2 for 2 with a home run, 3 RBIs, and 5 runs scored. I couldn't read my own handwriting there. So Burrito Day stays hot. Like he's continuing his tear. And then Ty Evans, 3 for 4 with a double, a triple, 3 runs batted in, and 4 runs scored. So a lot of good offensive stuff for Florida there. Caden Nicoletto for Mizzou in game 1 of the doubleheader against Binghamton. 4 for 5 with a home run and 5 runs batted in. Really good game for him. An intriguing guy, a guy who can really hit. A transfer from a Division II school in town, Columbia College. It's in the same town as Mizzou, so probably didn't even have to move into a different apartment. But guy who really proved he can hit at the lower level. Can that translate? It sure did yesterday, but we'll find out as they get into conference play. Rylan Zaborowski of Georgia, 2 for 4 with 2 home runs and 7 runs batted in the Bulldogs win against Columbia. He's off to a scalding hot start. That's 9 home runs on the year. He's got, I believe, 4 on the weekend, 35 runs batted in. That's an incredible number this early in the season. A heck of a start for him. He's not exactly the guy I would have, if you gave me a list of the position player transfers at Georgia and said, hey, pick out the guy who is going to be off to the hottest start through 4 weeks. He's not the guy I would have chosen, frankly. So kudos to him for doing such a nice job. Jared Jones at LSU, 3 for 4, 2 doubles with a home run in a win against North Alabama. Luke Hill of Ole Miss, 2 for 3 with 2 walks in the win against Jacksonville State for the Rebels. For Texas, Ethan Mendoza, 3 for 5 with a stolen base at the top of the lineup in their win against Santa Clara. For A&M in a win against New Mexico State, Caden Kent, 2 for 5 with a double, triple, and 3 runs batted in. Charles Davalon, speaking of guys at the top of the order, really nice game for him for Arkansas in a win against Portland, 3 for 3 with a home run. Jordan Carrion, remember that guy? He's been at Florida. He's been at Florida State, sat out last year at South Carolina. Now he's playing for South Carolina, 3 for 5 with a double and 3 runs scored in their win against Morehead State. Good to see him having success, a guy who was a highly touted recruit as he entered college baseball, and just it didn't click right away at either of his first 2 stops, and maybe South Carolina is just the right place for him. We will obviously find out. Will Hodo of Alabama, 4 for 4 with a double, a home run, and 5 RBIs in a win against Presbyterian. And then Manny Marin of Tennessee, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 4 runs batted in as they beat St. Bonaventure. They handled Salina, the pitcher for St. Bonaventure, pretty well. I thought Salina showed well. I mean, obviously that's a tougher opponent for him than he's going to face all season. And, I thought he showed some good stuff. I think the scouts got to see some good stuff from him. But obviously, the rest of the team just wasn't up to snuff, and Tennessee did a nice job with him, and so they win the game there. But the hitter of the day is Aaron Downs of Mississippi State. And I chose him because he had a good game, 3 for 3, 2 home runs, a double, and 5 runs batted in Mississippi State's win against Queens. But I selected him too because it's going to be important for Mississippi State in a lineup that, yes, you have theoretically, a centerpiece in Hunter Hines. They're just going to need the depth of that lineup to come through. And so having a game like that from Aaron Downs is huge, because he's someone who you look at as a depth guy in that lineup. So big game for him. He is the hitter of the day. All right. Go Big Red from Vol for Life, Matt 82. Indeed, another good win for them. And then Visa V16 so it just says good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you guys on this, at least where I'm at, beautiful Sunday morning. Nice and sunny outside. Hope you guys are feeling rested. Obviously, we have the spring forward, which is a double-edged sword, right? I like that it's going to get the sun's going to be out later. I did not care for the hour less of sleep last night, but what are you going to do? Okay, let's talk pitcher of the day. We got some good candidates here as well. Alex Kranzler, we talked about him earlier in a relief appearance. Liked what I saw from there. Speaking of relievers, Brock Lucas from Mizzou in game 2 of the doubleheader sweep against Binghamton. 4 shutout innings, no walks, 6 strikeouts, just 1 hit allowed. Good stuff there from him. A guy who has had some tough outings this year, but ultimately, if Mizzou is going to be competitive on a weekend to weekend basis, he's just going to have to be a part of it. Another relief outing, Colton Smith for Georgia. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. A guy who has kind of been brought along slowly this year because remember he was scratched opening weekend and has kind of been working his way back, and Georgia's got enough depth where they don't have to rush him any more than they want to, right? So they can take their time with him. A good relief outing there. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle his usage moving forward as they get into SEC play. That's something I'm definitely watching. Anthony Ianson for LSU, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 15 strikeouts for Anthony Ianson. An absolutely fantastic outing there for him. Riley Maddox for Ole Miss, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run allowed. Riley Maddox doing Riley Maddox things yet again. Justin Lampkin for A&M, 7 innings pitched, gave up 1 run, no walks, 10 strikeouts, scattered 8 hits in the outing. Zach Root for Arkansas, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. And Mississippi State, Ben Davis, 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run. He replaced Stone Simmons in the Mississippi State rotation. And obviously, it's 1 start against Queens, which is, a team that I can't tell you much about, but I don't assume is a juggernaut, right? So take that with a grain of salt, but certainly a positive for Mississippi State to seemingly have another option of, okay, maybe Stone Simmons isn't right for this role. Let's get him back in the bullpen where we know he can thrive. And Ben Davis steps up. And speaking of which, one more. Marcus Phillips, Tennessee, 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. But he did a really nice job. They continue to stretch him out a little bit more. And I was a little bit skeptical about his ability to be a true starter. I thought maybe he could be a piggyback guy where he's, you're aiming for 4 innings, but they've done a nice job with him. So I'm intrigued by that last start. But speaking of guys stepping up into rotation spots, the pitcher of the day is Aiden King for Florida. He is in for Pierce Coppola. He threw 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts in game 1 against Harvard. And similar to Ben Davis, that's, a lot of it is, yes, the performance, but it's also representative of, we're going to need, if Coppola, if the injury is, at this time last week, I was saying, because it was kind of what was coming out of Florida, like, oh, it doesn't seem like it's any big deal. It looks like he'll be back. It was precautionary, whatever. Well, now he's missed a start. And I don't think there's quite as much optimism about his health necessarily, which for Florida is tough because they've already lost Kyle Jones for the season. That's less than ideal. So obviously a position player there, but still a key piece. So if Coppola is going to be out for any period of time, Aiden King showing that he could be next up, and Florida's probably going to be okay because they have that kind of depth on the mound. So Aiden King, pitcher of the day. Game of the day to watch Sunday. A couple things here. I'm intrigued by Oklahoma's doubleheader against Sam Houston, not because I think although Sam Houston did play them close on Friday, it ended up being 6-5. They made a late run, Sam Houston did. It's less because I think that doubleheader is going to be super, super competitive, and more that doubleheaders just get weird. And the second game, I believe, is 7 innings, and 7-inning games get weird because it increases the kind of there's fewer innings, and so weirder stuff can happen in a more compressed game. So, I'm interested in seeing that. But also Auburn against Old Dominion. We haven't mentioned Auburn yet on this show. Weird game yesterday. They were in control of that game against Old Dominion and then just had a bullpen blow up. And Old Dominion ends up coming back to win that game 11-9. I kind of gave up on that game, to be honest with you. Auburn was in control, and I kind of stopped monitoring it. And then I looked up at the end of the night, and I was like, oh, that game went sideways on Auburn. And so how do they bounce back from that, I think is important. I mean, it's not just winning the series, all that's important too, obviously, but it's like that team has played so well this season, and but they haven't had any like real head scratchers. And this one was. And so how do they react to that? How do they look today? I think is kind of a fascinating subplot. So I'm going to have my eye on that. Vol for Life Matt 82 says SEC is going to be wild this year. At least it seems that way. Totally agree. Yeah, I really do think that. I mean, it's true every year, but it seems like every single year it gets more and more crazy. And you add obviously Oklahoma and Texas into the mix, and it's going to be even crazier for sure. So, look, one of the things that SEC play kind of gets you used to here is that like you're just going to take losses. Even teams that you think you should handle, teams you think you should beat, you're just going to take losses. Like that's just at the SEC play. And I think that can be kind of healthy for a team. It can be healthy for a fan base to realize like, hey, we're going to lose every once in a while. It's different than football. Like a national title contender in football is looking to try to go undefeated or one loss. But in baseball, you just know you're going to lose some games, but it can be good for a team because you're going to have to rebound in the SEC. By the time you get to June, it's not just that you've played most of the best teams in America already, but it's also that by June, you've had to have at least a couple of moments where it's like, hey, we need to come out here and play well on Sunday to win a series, or, hey, we've already lost this series. We need to get a game here. Let's come out and play well Sunday, that kind of thing. And that's valuable. Jeffrey Baumgartner says, it's a shame that Arkansas didn't have a road game this year at Hawaii. Yeah, agreed. I wonder if DVH can get Hawaii on the schedule for next season to give those guys a homecoming, if you will. Let's see. Caleb Falk. Morning, Joe. Hello, Caleb. Einson looked great after first inning. 20 of the 27 outs were strikeouts. Let's see if Shores can go deep in this one. Starters looking good before SEC starts. I agree. Rotation's been good. I do radio in Baton Rouge every Thursday, the Hunt Palmer show. And he asked about my confidence in that. And I feel good about it so far. As good as you can in non-conference play. Einson certainly part of that. Good job by him to kind of, like you mentioned, fight back and end up with a really good outing and get deep in the game. And I am intrigued by Shores. How can he look the part? Can he go deep in this game? Because so much of the question about him is the physical piece, being healthy, staying healthy, showing that he can be a workhorse. You don't want to pin anything on any one start, but you just want to kind of continue to see him progress. And so far, so good. And we'll see what he's got today. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Weekend Waypoints, production of SEC Extra over at d1baseball.com. Congratulations, we have made it to the end of non-conference play. Here in 5 days, we'll have first pitch coming up for SEC baseball in conference this season. I am excited. Can't wait to get there. We got a week, we got a few days to bide our time, but we will get there soon, folks. All right. Everyone enjoy the baseball today. I hope the weather is nice where you're at, as nice as it is where I am. And I will talk to y'all Friday morning with another edition of Weekend Waypoints. See y'all later.